In the previous module, we finished all the assets we needed to set up our player settings using our touch controllers. The buttons, the sliders, and the effects they had on the world and the way we interacted with it. I would like to take a quick moment to show you the additional logic we set up. When we wrapped up the last module, we made sure the image in the widget changed color, but we have now also built the event to change the color of the hands as well. I need to open up the motion controller pawn, and now you can see I have all the functions needed for the settings. Everything has been done the exact same way that we demonstrated in the previous module. When the player color slider's value is changed, a function inside of BP motion controller named setColorOfHand is called. From setColorOfHand, we grab a reference of the hand mesh, create a dynamic material instance, and set a vector parameter named bodyColor to the value chosen in the UI. We also created an event that will toggle the hand controlling the UI to visible and the hand that is inactive or holding the UI to hidden. Now when the UI is set to be attached to the hand, it will, in a way, turn your hand into the widget itself. This event will get called both at the activation of the hood as well as the interaction from a controller. Lastly, open Game Instance Darts and select our StructVR player settings. Keep in mind that this is the starting source of this variable that is being used all over the game. In its current form, it is never updated, which allows us to reliably use this as the default values for our player settings. For player color, for example, the hue is currently 0, which will not make our hand black, but the hue of 0 makes it a deep red. Make a new bluish color and notice the hue value change. I'll press OK and compile. I'm going to bring up the menu. If I go to the next menu, placement of the user interface is the hood. I could change it to my hand, just as we had done. So as I drag the hue slider over, you could see that my hand is changing colors that relate to the hue value. So I have the option to be able to change the color of any mesh using a slider in a player settings UI. Our tracking type, Oculus uses floor level as it uses the sensor setup that we had previously done. Other HMDs or even experiences for Oculus could use eye level if we wanted the HMD to be at a very specific location. So if I set it to eye level, of course, now I'm at the pivot of our VR pawn, of our motion controller pawn, but I want floor level. Game settings is what we're going to be working with right now. Right now we can change the value of point to win, standard points value, and the bonus points value. We also can set them all back to default. And leaderboards will do it in a much later course. Our player settings UI working and set up. Besides the above settings, the one I need you to change on your end is inside of Game Mode Darts. Open Game Mode Darts and look for the Player Has Scored event. We originally referenced the game instance for this information. We need to change this to get this data from BPP pawn darts. Get a reference to the player pawn and pure cast to BPP pawn darts. Get a reference to the StructVR player settings variable, and in the two events, player has scored as well as check game status, replace the game instance reference. Hold down Control to move a pin and its connections. I'm going to just replace these to reference our pawn instead of the game instance, and I'm going to delete the game instance. Because we had used the same variable type, a simple swap will work. Go ahead and compile and let's move on to this module. Open BP Dartboard. We're going to add a widget to the component list. Set the widget class to wDartsMain horizontal. The widget was designed for an aspect ratio of 16:9 to fit onto the screen. Set the draw size to 1920x1080 and scale it down to 0.133. I'm going to open the viewport to see how this is looking. I'm going to rotate it to match the screen, so rotating by -90 degrees. And then I'm going to pull the dart up to match the very center of the circle. Around 4, I'd say, and I'll compile. Let's quickly change over to C4 game stage so we can see all this in action. Now we have our dartboard, which has the widget on it. But for the screen above, we're also going to add its own widget that will provide us a bit more details into our stats. Inside of the actors folder within UI, create a new actor blueprint named BP Game Board Data and open it up. Add a widget component and set the class to wdarts main vertical and the draw size to 720 by 1280 and compile. Drag a reference into the map. For simplicity, set the transform to location -23, 375, 390, rotation to 0, -10, -90, and scale to 0.14. This should align pretty well with this top screen. Okay, the screens are in place and we can now modify the UMGs to start giving us real game data. If you look at the bottom board, from the top left, we see that there is a space to show the time. On the right is showing how many points we need to win, and on the bottom right is showing our current score. On the top screen, starting on the left, we have the total of bonus points earned, the total of standard points earned, and the total score. On the right, we have the amount of hits we achieved as well as the number of attempts. Let's jump into setting this up. First, we want our dartboard to do the heavy lifting here and then communicate data to our secondary game board data screen. Open BP dartboard and create a variable named game board data of type BP game board data. Make it instance editable and compile. Inside of the map, select the dartboard and set the value of game board data to the blueprint in the map and then save the map. Return to BP dartboard and at the end of begin play, get a reference to our widget. I'm going to move set new bonus over, declare our widgets, and then we'll call set new bonus at the beginning, just to avoid a future error. From the widget, create a get user widget object and cast it to wdarts main horizontal and promote to a variable named wdarts horizontal. And I'll plug this in. Get a reference to our other screen and get the widget. From the widget, again create a get user widget object, cast to wdarts main vert, promote to variable, and name it wmain vert. Okay, and now I can plug in set new bonus. Okay, and I'm just going to drop these all into our reference category and compile. Create a custom event named update score. It will have two inputs. The first one will be an integer named points added and a bool named bonus hit. We're going to receive all the scoring data from the game mode as it oversees the status of the game. Open game mode and look for the player has scored event. Create a new input on it named dartboard and change the type to BP dartboard and name it. Promote this to a variable as we'll need to send data back to it. Also promote bonus hit to a new variable so we can use it in another location. Name it temp bonus hit. So I'm not going to be checking if BP dartboard is valid because the only way that player has scored gets called is from BP dartboard itself. So it's always going to be provided the value for BP dartboard. Pan down to the check game status. Before the branch, get a reference of our dartboard and call update scores. We're going to figure the bonus hit from our temp bonus hit and the points added to whether bonus hit is set to true or not. So I'm going to pull this over, and what we need from this break now is also the bonus point value and the standard points value. So from points added, create a select int node. If temp bonus is true, then pick A, as in the value of bonus points. And if not, then pick B, so the value of standard points. And compile. Return to BP dartboard, and on the player has scored event, drag from dartboard and search for get a reference to self. So go ahead and compile. Because this event won't get called if the game is over, we can be confident that keeping a local tally of the current score will remain accurate. And what I mean by that is, in the player has scored, as soon as game over is set to true, it will not continue on, and nor will it pass any data back to check game status, since that is not called unless the game is still going. Create a new variable named player score and set it to an integer. After update score, add the points added to player score, and from the sum, set player score. With the added score and the bool indicating if it was a bonus hit or not, we can use this info to update a majority of the text within our widgets. Open wdarts main horizontal. This one only wants the current score and if it was a bonus hit, which we'll use in the next module. Create a custom event named update score and give it two inputs. An integer named new total score and a bool named bonus hit. Get a reference to text block score and set the text to our new total score. Compile and open wdarts main vert. Here we need two events. First, we need update user score with two integers, one named bonus and the other named points. The second event should be named update throws with one bool input named hit. From update user score, get a reference to our text block bonus, points, and total score, and create a set text for each of them. Plug each into the appropriate in text and the sum of the two into total score. From update throws, create a branch. Create two new variables, both integers, one named throws and the other named hits. From false, increase throws by 1 and set that as the text for text block attempts. From true, increase hits by 1 and set that value as the text for text block hits, then plug the return execution into the throws increase. This way, if the player hits the backboard, throws increases. If they hit the dartboard, both hits and throws will increase. Okay, now we need to call all these events and we're ready to play. Return to BP dartboard. From the dartboard hit event, before the branch, call our update throws event in our darts vertical and plug the bool from the component check into hit. From the update score event, call the update score event from wdarts horizontal and plug the two inputs in. For the vertical widget's bonus and points inputs, let's create two new integer variables to keep track of that data here. Create a new integer variable named bonus total and another named standard total. From the bonus hit bool, create a branch. On true, add and set the points to bonus total, and on false, add and set it to standard total. And from false, we'll do the same thing for standard total. Plug both into our update user score event inside of wMain vert. Okay, press play in VR so we can finally play some darts. Okay, now it works. So hits is now 1, attempts is 1, and score is 20. I'm gonna hit the board down. Attempts is 2. If I hit the board again, hits is, oh, did it not count that? That was 4. I've thrown 4, whoops. Okay, that was definitely a hit. Whoops. Okay, that was a hit, yeah, 4. Score is 80, score is 80. Bonus, I've not hit my bonus yet, okay. I want to hit at least one bonus. There we go. So I got my bonus. So that bonus was set to quadrant 2. Now our scores are correct. Our attempts were updating each time. Our hits were updating each time. We have a bonus score of 50, standard points of 100, a total score of 150. Okay. In the last video of the course, we're going to add some animation to the widgets so we know when we scored as well as exactly which quadrant the bonus is.